Welcome, everyone, to the Clermont County Board of Commissioners meeting, the 18th of December. We are getting very, very close to Christmas. As with all commissioner meetings, we always, prior to commencing our meeting officially, we always ask for local clergy to come here and lead us in prayer. And this morning, we have Pastor Sherlock. Thank you for being here this morning. You are a mainstay in our board meetings, and we really appreciate you doing that.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Podium's yours if you'd lead us in prayer.
Okay, let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time of season. And Lord, we just pray that as we think of Mary, Lord, a little teenager, her faith in her God caused her to ponder the things the angel told her and believed that they would come to pass. Well, as Clermont County, Father, may we ponder all the things that you have done and have fulfilled in our county and will continue to do so, that you will fulfill your desire for Clermont County and that we would have Mary's faith. Joseph, he was an honest man with integrity, respect, obedient to the message that the angel brought to him and trusted you. So as a county, may we put our trust in you to complete and to instruct us that we will trust and believe in you to bless and give favor to Clermont County. All those shepherds on that hillside. The greatest news flash of all time was given to some shepherds, not kings, priests, or governors. Let us see this thing that happened, and they left that hillside and went after it to see. Lord, as a county, may we always be ready to receive the latest from you and then have a desire to see it accomplished. May we be in a wonder of what you've performed in our county, and may we be ready to go and see. All the wise men, they followed that star to find a king, finding him at his house to bring him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Oh, Lord, as the county, let us be like those wise men, that we still seek you, and we want to seek you in all aspects of our county. And may we receive from you the gifts that are needed to have Clermont County run in the black and to meet all the needs of the people in our county. And may we acknowledge you as the source of all that we will ever need. And so, Lord, just continue to bless and give favor to Clermont County. And we ask it all in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Batchelor, if you'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting of Clermont County Board of Commissioners is officially called to order with that Pledge of Allegiance. We'll move with the existing agenda. And item number B is approval of regular session minutes of 12/11. Board, I know you've had these minutes, had an opportunity to review them and make any revisions that you need. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of 12/11?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
Been moved in second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item number B, C was going to be the presentation that Angie Livesay was going to give. Board, is it okay if we move public participation up into this slot?
Yes.
Good. Okay, we will proceed with public participation. During this time, the board does not answer questions nor engage in debate. No member of the public may comment about a matter that is not within the purview of the county commissioner's responsibilities. The commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board during this time. Each speaker will only speak once, be recognized by the board president before speaking. In accordance with the board's rules of procedure, your comments are limited to 5 minutes, and the entire session is limited to 30 minutes. Prior to getting started on that, board, one of the things that's come to our attention that many people, not many, in a few occasions, we've had someone come in public participation and read a letter on the behalf of another person. If you have a letter that you want to present in public participation, you are more than, it's more than acceptable to do so. Please bring your letter up to Gail here, who is the clerk, but we are not going to allow letters to be written, letters to be read that is someone else's letter, because there have been some issues about whether that letter is authentic and if it really is from that person. So if that person's here and they have a letter and they want to read it, we are more than glad to hear it. But if you are here to read a letter on someone's behalf, that won't be part of public participation. But we will be more than glad to accept that person's letter on your behalf. So we'll proceed with public participation. Anyone like to? By all means. Tell us who you are and what your address is.
Larissa Gottschalk, Gottschlich, and I'm at 546 Hamblin Drive, 45255. As you probably note, I'm here on behalf of the shelter and the dogs that we host in there. It has come to our attention that a new volunteer policy will be presented today and be put for vote by the commissioners. And I think that's long needed. So I really appreciate the efforts in putting that together. You guys should be the ones creating those policies and running the shelter. So thank you for that. But as I read that proposal, and I have a lot of concerns, and I would like to ask for some amendments and for some consideration why you guys are voting for that. One of the things that will be proposed is that volunteers will no longer be allowed to volunteer on Mondays and on public holidays. I've come to this meeting many, many times, and I've seen a lot of public participation mentioning how Mr. Painter, Ms. Claire, and Bonnie, you all have dogs. And I'm sure when you are home from the holidays, you give them a special attention because you are not devoting your 100% of your time taking care of your business and your work. So we're just asking you to give us that same availability. We choose to spend our holidays with the dogs. We could be doing anything else. I work full time. I'm taking half of the day off. So I am burning half day of vacation to be here and speaking on behalf of the dogs because I love those dogs. I believe on those dogs. So people that can be there on Mondays, please let them be there on Mondays. Like I have such a limited availability on weekends and holidays to be there. And now you are taking away a precious time that I can be there giving love and helping the animals. So I'm just asking for consideration on that. Another thing that's part of that agenda, it is running background checks. Background checks are not free. Are we really going to be spending taxpayer monies on that? With that said, I also want to understand what the parameters of like who is going to be allowed to volunteer with a background on the rep sheet or who is not. I agree, people that have been condemned for animal cruelty should not get any close to our dogs. But we have trustees that are going there and working. So why not let somebody that number one hasn't like been convicted, might have like a rep sheet, but like it's the meets, or have been convicted, but they have done their time. They have paid their debt to the society to be there and give back to our animals. I don't see a problem with that. We have trustees that have expressed their wish to work at the kennel once they are out of jail. Are we not going to allow them to work? Because if I can't, as a volunteer, I cannot be there. Why are we allowing somebody that has been spending time in jail to be there with our dogs? The third thing I want to point out is the fact that we are only going to be allowed to do volunteer tasks as designated by the administration upon arrival. A lot of us drive 30, 40 minutes to be here with our dogs. Some of us only want to walk dogs. Some of us only want to do enrichments. Some of us cannot stand the smell of like poop and pee. So like cleaning a kennel will not be a task that we would be able without like throwing up and making a huge mess. So why can't we as volunteers, we are donating our time, we are donating our gas, we are coming there, not be with the dogs doing the things that will help the dogs, but also fulfill our hearts, because that's what volunteer is about. it is donating to the community, but also having that pleasure that like I did something good today for somebody else, in this case for a dog. So if it is mandatory that the kennel administrator will tell us what to do, so then post that on the website at 9 a.m. in the morning. So I can look at the website and be like, oh, today I can only clean kennels. I am not gonna drive 40 minutes. Because getting there 40 minutes later and be told me that I cannot do what I came there to do, it's unfair to the community. And that's really going to drive our volunteers away. There has been a lot of like conversations on social media about people not signing that document, people that have been volunteered there since CARES took care of. I think our goal is to bring us together. And I know I'm running out of time, but I forgot your name, but you have mentioned a lot of times about having like focus groups. I'm a training moderator, but I'm biased. But I do have friends that work on the industry. I'll be more than happy to connect and make that happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Sure. Tell us who you are and where you live.
Deanna Smith, 4231 Edinburgh Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45245. Ready?
Sure.
I was looking forward to seeing Angie's presentation first because I try to start with something positive. Today, I'm not coming with much positive, and I'm sorry for that. Last week, I was the only one that spoke. And David, you decided after that you were going to address us. It felt like you were addressing me, but we'll just say us. Because I was the only one that spoke, and you were hitting my talking points. I'm sorry. Makes me nervous to be here in a negative way. David, you talked down to us. You talked down to us like we were your children or something. I felt like I was being chastised in front of everybody. And I'm sitting over here bobbleheading, agreeing because you were hitting my points. I brought up Alex. You don't owe me an explanation. And I've never asked for one about what you do with the facts that I bring you. And I brought you facts. And it felt to me like you wanted to deflect the facts. And you wanted to intimidate. That's how it felt to me, whatever your intentions were. Bonnie and Claire, you guys both were listening to me when I said what was going on at the shelter. And you were listening intently. I was watching you guys and kind of nodding like some of the things I was saying you had not heard before. So when he attacked me, and that's how it felt, whatever you intended.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry you felt that way. I did not mean for you to feel that way. No, I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. I expected the two of you to come and kind of say something because I've defended each and every one of you. On social media, I've never called you a name. I have never disrespected any of you that I know of. And I expect the same in return. I'm here only for the shelter and for the dogs. And David, you said in speaking after I spoke last week, you said, we are it. We are it. Well, then, trying to word this respectfully, who is the dog that left your care, left your care, went to a rescue who has to do their own fundraising, that spent $8,000 on that dog right after he came out of your care because he had eaten part of his cot? If that's under your umbrella, I think you guys need to write a check to that rescue. Maybe not for the full amount because they did take it on and you may have made different decisions, but that rescue deserves some money that was set aside for that shelter and those dogs. There's another one now, Opal. I don't know if I'm knowing these names right or not. But that dog left your care, in need of care, because I think a botched surgery. Do I have that right? A botched surgery. I don't know who's doing the surgeries, but somebody should have known. Dogs do not go and, what do they call it? Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so nervous. This is not in my wheelhouse. Dogs don't spin. That's dogs circle to lay down in their bed. Spinning is anxiety, and these dogs are spinning in these kennels because they are not getting adequate exercise, whatever. And that's on you guys. You sat here and told me, that this was your umbrella. That's under you. I try not to come down on Angie and Alex, but they don't know what they don't know. And dogs are being, somebody adopted a dog from the shelter recently and just posted on Facebook that the dog has now bitten them. That's because they're not getting the stimulation they need. You don't know what you don't know. And one more thing, you told Chris Hicks that he needed to go through orientation. You don't have to answer this. Have you three been through orientation? Do you know? If you haven't, then you need to kind of put your money where your mouth is. If you're going to make him do it, then maybe the three of you need to go in orientation. And I wasn't going to throw this out there, but I think I will. I want to work with you guys. I think a lot of people here want to work with you guys. So I'd like to put the negativity behind us. And I would like to approach the three of you to shake hands and let's start over and get some good things happening. Are you guys amenable to that? All right.
I got the coldest hands in the world. I'm sorry.
You know, I'm
Thank
always
you.
hot. I want to work with you.
Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please state your name and your address.
My name is Tracy McCullough. I live at 4574 Julep Way in Amelia, 45102, or Batavia, 45103. And I want to talk today, I want to go and say what you were saying. What we are talking about is this kind of treatment. And Andrew, if you want to, you can go a little bit further. This is what we're talking about right here. It's hard to look at. Imagine if you're a volunteer and you have to come in and see this. What you were saying is exactly what's happening. They're in their crates 23 hours a day. They spin, they're not socialized. They eat their cages, and this is what happens. Here's another picture of what happened. You can show that second one. This is what it looks like. This is graphic. You can look away if you like, but please don't, because this is what's been going on for years. This is why volunteers have left. This is why volunteers are crying. This is why volunteers have post-traumatic stress because of this. We can take it down if you want. Everybody's got a picture. You can roll it up. Thank you, Andrew. I have those pictures because we're forgetting what we're here for. These animals are suffering. They're chewing their cages. They're tearing out their own skin. This is not how you handle a shelter. This is not how you handle our volunteers, such as Rescue Me, such as CARES. They come and do all this work, and then it's just like, well, we're going to continue to put more limitations on what you can do as a volunteer. And why is that? So in the contract, revocation of volunteer eligibility, these are some of the things that will preclude you from working. Any inhumane treatment of a CCK animal, causing harm to any CCK animal, disrespectful conduct, sexual or other unlawful or unwelcome harassment, disruptive behavior, like calling 911 on a long-term volunteer that was just trying to tell Mr. Price what they usually do, waste of taxpayers' money, and an act of brutality. Accessing restricted areas of CCK, which are all going to be restricted pretty soon. You're not going to be able to see anything anymore. And the one that I thought was really interesting is using CCK equipment for non-shelter purposes, which is actually happening right now. It's an echo pod. It's not a PA, but definitely is being used for Mr. Price to train for his next position as somebody in law enforcement. So that's what's happening with your taxpayers' money. In the meantime, while we sit and go, thank you so much for taking responsibility. Yeah, thanks for finally taking responsibility, but it's always been your responsibility. You taking it does not change that. You saying it does not change that. You've always been responsible. You're responsible for this. You're responsible for broken hearts. You're responsible for post-traumatic stress. You're responsible for people not wanting to take their dogs to the shelter in Clermont County. You're wholly responsible for that. So yes, you are right about that. Cruelty is cruelty, whether or not you have a good intention or not. For 3 years, people have come up here in tears, begging for help, begging for extended hours. Yeah, 3 years. You can write that down. Since 2021. And it has come to this. It should never have come to this. This should have been helped a long time ago. Think of how much better you'd be in the community if you would have helped instead of hindered. And now with this 20-page contract, you, by your own actions, would not be qualified to be a volunteer at your own shelter. So that's all I have to say. But we need to keep on bringing this to the public and keep helping those dogs. They can't help it. And again, dogs do not vote. They're nonpartisan as far as I'm concerned. They need to be helped right away. It's dire. And I thank everyone who's worked so hard. I will say thank you so much for putting your hearts into it, because it's a very hard thing to see it and be helpless and still love the dogs more than you love your own mental health. So I thank you so much for what you've done. I will say thank you.
Anyone else?
This is not a letter, it's just my thoughts.
Please tell us who you are.
My name is Ann No-Shang. I live on Hammond Drive in Amelia. This is not going to take very long because I was expecting this to be after Ms. Livesay's presentation, and I was going to have comments and questions about that. But since we're before it, I'm not sure why you did that or if there was any reason for it, but my comments are based on what she's going to say. One other thing I wanted to comment on is that back when Angie, Miss Livesay, was hired to be this administrator, she mentioned to volunteers that she didn't have experience in a dog shelter. She had management experience, but she didn't have experience in a dog shelter. I have 35 years of management experience. And in all my 35 years, I never went into a role and immediately said I was changing everything that was going on, especially by individuals that were there for free, not even being paid. These people are coming on their own time and energy for free. But instead of embracing them and instead of getting them to tell you what they know so you can be a better leader, all we've seen is changes and policy adjustments. Well, policies are great, and that's fantastic that they get written up. Wonderful. But actions need to happen. This shelter is dying, and it's just a sin. It's just a sin. I mean, a good leader listens to their employees, and in this case, free employees. There's so many things. There's just so many things. I know we don't want to beat the $20,000 to death. We don't want to beat the $60,000 to death, but for God's sake, we need an answer. And maybe she's got it. I hope so. If so, well, even if not, I'll probably be back next week with my thoughts.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not hearing any. I'll close public participation. Thank you. We will move on the agenda. Next up on the agenda is a presentation by Angie Livesay, the Deputy Assistant County Administrator, concerning the animal shelter. Morning, Angie.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. Angie Livesay, Deputy Assistant County Administrator. So board, you'll remember back in February, I was promoted to the Deputy Assistant County Administrator position. And at that time, one of my departments became the animal shelter, among a few others. So I got in and learned everything I could, assessed. we did see some issues, and that is what led me to be the acting administrator sometime in the summer, I believe July. Time is escaping me a little bit. Since that time, we have been looking for an administrator. We actually, as you know, put out the legal notice, goes out tomorrow, for management to be brought in. So we do recognize that that needs to happen. But since July-ish, I've given you all a lot of updates, a lot of recommendations. And today I'm going to kind of do like a year-end review of where we are. So some of this you've heard and some of it will be new. Okay, so year-end review, intake and outcome. So I ran this report on the 13th. At that point, we had 788 dogs that had come into our care, with 86% coming in as strays. So board, I think, one of the first practices that I changed was for a while this year, we were taking owner surrendered dogs. So owner surrenders are when people, for whatever reason, can't take care of their animals anymore. They would bring them to the shelter. We're not obligated to take those dogs, and they were putting us way over capacity. So we stopped that practice. We do refer elsewhere as needed to bring, and that's largely had an impact on our numbers and our ability to manage the number of dogs that are coming into the kennel. So keep in mind that we had some overflow from 2023. So the dogs that I'm talking about, there's going to be not necessarily going to match up with intake and outcome. As of the 13th, we had 443 adoptions. This is one of the things that I think the volunteers have been incredibly helpful with. There's a network of people that are really, really great about putting the word out about our dogs. Our staff, a lot of people go into making that happen and getting happy outcomes for the dogs. 214 have been owner redeemed. 13 have been euthanized for medical behavioral reasons. Other possible outcomes, transfer to rescue partners. As you all know, we implemented a new rescue policy back in, I think, September. And since that time, I have authorized a handful of rescues to take some dogs that we know need out of the shelter. So today, actually, we have 2 dogs leaving to go to rescue today. We have Katie, who is our puppy that has parvo. She's back in isolation. That's bad for her. We know that. And we have a rescue that I made arrangements with yesterday. They're going to grab her today. So I think that will be really good. And we also have Dingo, who is going to the league today. He's going to be transferred there. Again, that's a good outcome for him. He needs some services that we can't provide. Other outcomes, we obviously still have, I ran the number right before I came in. We have 37 dogs on site at the shelter, with those 2 pending the rescue transfer. And then we have 49 in foster, which again is a huge contribution that volunteers make to get the dogs into foster homes. That's great for our dogs. One really important thing that happened this year, this was certainly a first for me. We had our September hoarding case that came in. As you all know, at that point, our numbers were about 40 dogs in the shelter, and overnight we doubled. So we took in 39 dogs one afternoon. So I think this really speaks volumes of really a lot of different people's efforts. So of those 39 dogs, we've had 30 dogs adopted, 5 are in foster, and then 4 remain in the care of the shelter. So 2 of the dogs up there, old Dan, we were all really, really excited. I had a meeting with the staff earlier that week, and we kind of talked about, like, let's have some like goal dogs. Like, which dogs would we really, really like to see leave this place? Like, let's identify them. And we talked about old Dan, and he got adopted that week. So that was really exciting. Wires, the guy on the right, you all may remember, Wire held a really special place in my heart. I really, really liked him. He was a little feisty. It was a day that brought me to tears when he got adopted by a young man who could meet his needs. So that was a really, really exciting outcome. Okay. So where we are with staffing now, we have 4 full-time kennel attendants in place working. We have a registered veterinary technician. Christine is here with me today. Christine started in September, and it feels like she's been much longer. We have a veterinary technician assistant on staff as well, full-time. We have the chief dog warden, 3 deputy dog wardens. Board, you'll remember that a couple of weeks ago, we changed some positions and created an administrative assistant, replaced with the full-time receptionist, which is a little bit higher of a pay class. And we still have the receptionist full-time, part-time receptionist as well. And then our most important employee there, Jeff, he's manning the front desk, providing all sorts of fun for us. So what's funny is if I had not cropped that picture, the post-it on that piece of paper said needs filing. So I like to think he was going to go file that for us. So obviously, we still have a ways to go with staffing. We're still seeking candidates. Actually, board, you have in front of you today, one of the personnel actions is my recommendation for a kennel supervisor. That person will be a great addition to our staff in providing some management back in the kennel. I'm always on the hunt for more kennel techs. We are frequently interviewing both full-time and part-time. Obviously, you know, we of course need an administrator, and if that ideally will come through the proposals, we'll get some management teams coming in offering proposals for us, and if not, we'll have the administrator position that we could still fill. Again, as you know, we moved just about everybody in the kennel up the different positions to receive higher starting salary. That actually makes us really competitive with some of the area kennels, shelters. So that was a significant raise for a lot of people. They're very happy. You definitely know we started that trustee cleaning crew back in August. That has been tremendous for our staff. I think I've explained that one. We had the grant students program. So we have student interns coming in September. We've had them do a variety of tasks. It's a very helpful addition. It's good for everybody. Those are animal welfare or animal care students at the grant program. Obviously, we have a robust volunteer network. We can certainly talk about the volunteer policy whenever you would like. And then we have 6-ish regular veterinary partners that we use frequently. We have Clermont Animal Hospital, Rolling Hills, My Pets Vet, both Eastgate and Mason location. I think there's one in Owensville, and I might be forgetting the other. I didn't make a list, but and then we have some specialists that we've had to consult with as well. So I took a picture. This is back in isolation. This was a very exciting day. During my time at the shelter, I've never seen us have an empty isolation area. And for, I think, 3 days we had it. So that was really, really good. We don't want dogs to be in isolation, but unfortunately that's a reality in sheltering. So right now we have Katie, the puppy with parvo, who came to us with parvo in isolation. She will be moving out today. So we've made a variety of facilities upgrades and recommendations. One of the first things that happened were several kennels needed repaired. That's going to happen again. Several more kennels need repaired now, so I'll be working on that. We added the washer dryer combo back in June. We had some donated sunshades that got installed to provide some shade over the back play area in August. We did the workers' comp air quality test performed in August. We've had a couple of architect contracts, one for the outdoor kennel that is going out to bid now. That will, in effect, double our outdoor kennel space. And what that in reality will allow us to do is have our staff pull every dog out on a good weather day, clean the entirety of the facility at once, rather than right now they take shifts. So that will be really good for everybody. Obviously, the dogs get a lot more fresh air. The architect contract is in place for the washer, dryer, dishwasher. We've received some drawings. We kind of have some questions about how we're proceeding with the work, if we're going to bid it out or if it's going to be our facilities team doing that. The RFP for the outdoor kennel expansion I talked about. And then something our facilities team noticed is that some of our ceiling tiles could be replaced. So that also is taking place now. Some of our top costs this year. Board, I believe I misspoke earlier this year. I said our veterinary bills were over $100,000, and I didn't realize that kind of line item encapsulated a couple of other things. So our actual, I had our budget director look, actual bills from a vet is just around $86,000 for the year to date. And again, this was when I turned in my presentation late last week. Vaccination medical supplies. Christine can maybe explain this if anyone wants to know, but every dog that walks through our door receives vaccinations, flea treatment. Every dog that walks through the door to prevent as much disease as we can. We certainly send out a lot of samples if we suspect that different things might be happening with individual animals. Payroll just around 576,000. And then donations to date, just around 31,000. Board, I'm going to be doing a donation acknowledgement for the year in full in January. So we'll see that exact number in case anything else comes in over the next couple of weeks. So goals for 2025, it will be a very happy day for all of us if we could achieve full staffing. This is an area that there is a lot of turnover. So I'm hoping, obviously, to add those kennel techs that I've talked about, obviously to get a manager in place. One of the things that could happen at that point is I could bring the idea to you about extending hours into the evening, which everybody wants. We don't have the staff to pull it off right now, but we're closer than we've been. So I look forward to that. That will help. Everybody wants that. Some training opportunities. I'm going to be putting in a request. Actually, a volunteer sent me a canine handling, I think, webinar that I'm going to get all of our staff in on. Our safety coordinator, Gary, has provided a lot of training as well. We just talked about some different tips during spot cleaning at a staff meeting earlier this morning. So we'll definitely be looking at some training opportunities early in the year. I'm working on a contract to have the rabies vaccine on site. That will be huge for, again, everyone. That has been an area that has been tricky. So getting a doctor to come do that on site, which has happened, I believe, in the past. We just need to just legally get it so everybody understands what we're doing. I believe we're going to have them do the vaccine on site, and then we'll reimburse them for whatever the cost of whatever they do. And there will be some other limited things, but the rabies vaccine will really be the big one for us. That will be really, really helpful for all of us. Obviously, we're going to have our dog license campaign. Obviously, you know that money goes into the Dog and Kennel Fund to support our operations. We'll have a variety of facilities and security upgrades. There's a slew of things that we all see, we all identify. I'm most hopeful about the things that I've already mentioned and getting those underway. And then finally, board, you know that one of my other areas, one of my other departments is our public information department. So we have a communication coordinator in place now, Ursula Miller, and she is really working on our website, which is connected to Shelter Love, which is connected to Pet Finder, some of our social media, and getting some good word out specifically about our dogs. And they've been working on marketing some of the dogs that have had longer stays with us to see if we can try to put out some good information to try to get these guys into good homes. So Ursula, do you want to come on up?
Thank you, Angela.
Oh, I'll finish my last slide. Obviously, our goal for 2025 is to get all of our dogs into loving homes. And since we had Bree, the one on the left. She's the one that came to visit us. She got adopted since I submitted this. So, and then a couple of other guys, Eli and Panda.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Ursula Miller, and I've been with the county now 2 months. And I just want to point out that I was brought in to help improve communications overall for the county and specifically for the animal shelter. And an important part of that is our website. So hopefully in the future, we'll get a newly holistically redesigned website. But in the meantime, I am working feverishly, and David can attest to it, to improve the web page as it is. So that's in process because it's an important marketing tool. The other important marketing tool that Angie alluded to connects to Pet Finder, which is a common way that people search for dogs if they're looking to adopt. And we've got a disconnect, and it's really unglamorous, technical, behind the scenes effort to figure out what's going on with the Shelter Love software and how it's pulling or not pulling correctly into Pet Finder. So we are very much working on that. So more to come on that. Hopefully it'll just be links and you can see how beautifully it works once we get it done. And then in just overall, we're trying to improve the frequency and consistency of how we communicate and what we communicate. And besides the website being an important tool, as well as the Pet Finder tool, we're also doing creating what we call collateral in the world of marketing. And one of those is a short video that David's going to play in a moment of one of our long-term residents, one of our long-term dogs. We're trying to do a variety of things. I'm working on a communications and marketing plan to put it on paper so that we have a good roadmap. But David's going to just show you that video. It's not displaying as we had hoped on Pet Finder yet, but it is on our YouTube channel and we are promoting it in social media. But we're going to keep finding other ways to share it so more people can see the dogs, that especially the long-term dogs. So David's going to roll it right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all I have for you. I'm happy to, if you have any questions.
Angie, before you leave, obviously a couple items have come up here today. If you could comment on those. One is, the policy and Mondays and
Mhm.
and holidays. Could you talk to us about that?
Sure. So you all know a lot of work went into the volunteer policy, and we took some information from some different counties as well as some different nonprofit shelters, kennels around here. Pretty unanimously, all of them are closed at least one day just for a really deep clean. So that's the thought behind Monday.
So that was a Monday.
And that's one of the days we're already closed to the public. So that made sense to me, as opposed to Sunday, which I know is a very busy volunteer day. The holidays, we've had the conversation. Holidays are hard because of our limited staffing. So it's hard to manage additional people in the building.
Just another question, we've had some graphic pictures put out here today. Could you explain those pictures? Tell us how recent those pictures are. And
Sure. Yeah.
okay.
Christine, you want to come up? Christine wasn't around during the time of those pictures. This is before her time. Unfortunately, really sad things happen in the shelter. They do. We all know that. We all know a lot of dogs do not do well in shelters. And I will say that I think one of our strengths right now is we push onto volunteers that we know have connections to get these dogs out. We're on the same page. There are dogs that should not be in shelters. Dingo is one of them. He's a cattle herding dog. He needs a job. We can't give him a job at the shelter. It's just not a good fit. So anytime we can get a dog out, we're happy to do that. We're always getting the dog's medical treatment. You've seen some of the bills. I know there was a discussion today about the medical costs. So board, we do have a limited budget. There's a lot of money. Hear me loud and clear. But when you have 700 plus dogs coming in, if we spent $10,000 every dog, we would be in a really bad spot really quickly. So I have asked our rescue partners who can fundraise. We can't fundraise for individual dogs. We can't. So that to me is a win if we can get a partner that can do that and that has that ability. And as opposed to taking $10,000 of taxpayer money, that people can genuinely fundraise and know that your money is going to Opal. This is where your money is going. I think that's a different capability that they have. So do you want to talk about any other medical cases or
Specifically about the pictures?
The pictures, that has not happened since I have been at the shelter. I'm not sure when that happened, but it was before me, and I don't know how long ago. And if I'd like to clear up one misconception with Dash. Everybody's saying that he ate a cot while he was in our care. He did not eat a cot.
Okay.
He came into the shelter. He had already eaten something before he got to us. He did not eat a cot in our care.
Okay.
And that's a good point. I think it's hard because we get a lot of dogs in really, really bad shape, and some of it, most of the time, is really awful to see for any of us. And that dog becomes ours the second they walk into the facility. We do our intake. What they look like, we've had nothing to do with to that point. It is in our job to rehabilitate those dogs, to get them medical care, and to get them in good shape, which we obviously have many examples of.
So it would be fair to say that those pictures are not from recent operations at our kennel at all.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Well, and so one point though is we don't have any pop-up kennels at this time. I'm not sure when that picture was from. I believe it. It happened. Obviously, it happened, and that's a shame. And all we can do is do better. So, but we don't have any pop-up kennels, and we haven't since at least September, when the hoarding cases, when we started getting those dogs through the facility.
One other issue we're going to talk about is, or I'd ask some questions about, is two things came up, and we'll just talk about two numbers. We have spent a lot of time on these two numbers, but I'd like for you to go back. One of them is $20,000 and the other one is $60,000. Could you just talk about the commercial washer and dryer, the modifications to the facility that have to be made, that had to have a full architectural contract on it, and the fact that we still have this money, it's in the dog and kennel fund, and it's earmarked for that installation?
Yeah, it's actually in a separate budget, and Mr. Linney can probably comment on some of this. But the $60,000 is going for the washer dryer and also part of the outdoor kennel project. So I believe that our first invoice that we received from the architect will be paid from that money. We also got the purchase order yesterday for the actual washer and dryer. Now that we have the specifications, now we just figure out who's doing the work. So a lot of this is our facilities team navigating behind the scenes. The pure unit money you touched on last week and our plan for that moving forward. Yeah.
In one thing, I just want to make sure it's fair that these two numbers are only a small portion of what each of these projects cost. Neither one of these, the 60,000 and or the 20,000 washer and dryer installation and or the outdoor kennels, will this money pay for. The cost of those projects is well in excess.
It will be a great contribution, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's one of the hard parts of our washer and dryer is it's the amount of infrastructure that's needed is going to be to the point where it might have to be bid. And that adds a different element that is going to slow down the process even more. And believe me, loud and clear, frustrated as well as anybody.
And Angie, we've made the statement before. Putting this industrial washer and dryer in that building is not the same as you going out and buying a washer and dryer and taking it home, hooking it up. It's a government building and we have to follow the guidelines
No
that are
one
set for
wants
us.
this in as much as I do, believe me.
Dave, this lady had something.
And
to
on a
say.
side note, I instructed Angie to go ahead and put a regular washer and dryer in, which she did until all this got resolved. And we did it right away. I said, I don't care how cheap it is, get it in there.
Okay.
So we tried to do it. We're waiting on contracts. We're waiting, and we all know that. So
Okay. Thank you.
Ma'am, did you
Thank
have
you.
something you wanted to say? No?
We will move on to the consent agenda. Board, a consent agenda has been approved for you. You've had time to review it. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda?
None.
Okay, hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as proposed.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Thank you. Yes. Item number F is the non-consent agenda. It starts on page 5. And it starts page 5 with a huge payment. A huge payment.
Yes, it does.
Item number 12, a recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners adopt Resolution 153-24 to approve payment to vendors in the amount of $8,882,261.62. I'm not sure, but that might be the biggest one ever.
I was going to ask that.
As outlined in the BCC approval invoice reports for checks dated December 18th, 2024, BCC directed prepaid invoice reports and the procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on 12/16/24, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Board, do I have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved in second. Any other information? Just the big hitter items of the $8 million.
The big hitter item was the $4.5 million for the Port Authority to start the broadband project. Also, we had some, I think, payments out for roads and things like that. So,
Okay,
yes.
thank you. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran, Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item number 13. Item number 13 is facilities. Wayne Prescott. Wayne, thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for waiting too.
Recommendation to adopt resolution number 154-24, resolving to declare the necessity to purchase 48 new motor vehicles at an estimated price of $3,391,263 from funds appropriated for calendar year 2025 pursuant to section 307.41 of the Ohio Revised Code and in compliance with section 307.86 through 307.92 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 13 for the purchase of vehicles. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Any further conversation, discussion?
I told Wayne before the meeting started, it's a good thing we're doing this. I followed a deputy's car yesterday. It was smoking pretty good.
They get a lot of miles on them.
They do.
What's
a
the,
lot of idle time too.
what's some
Yeah.
of those mileages that you guys see when you're
So-
maintaining?
This would be kind of odd. So I've seen in a year's time, 40,000 miles in 1 year's time. But not just the mileage, because they're used on both shifts, AM and PM shifts, but the amount of idle time hours too,
Yeah.
they're pretty
Pretty excessive.
excessive. Yeah.
No question. Gail, roll call.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Item number 14. Suki Sheets.
Yeah. Good morning, board.
Morning.
All right, here we go. This is a big one. Item 14, recommendation to award the bid and execute a contract for services to provide lawn mowing and lawn maintenance. This is for the Clermont County Public Water Courses and some of our roadside drainage basins. The contract will be with Caliber Ground Maintenance out of Bethel, Ohio for their lowest and best bid received on November 21st in the amount of $5,965. This will be for 3 years. It will start January 1st, 2025 with an option to renew for an additional 1 year. Pursuant to the terms and specs and contingent upon the release of the purchase order out of next year's funds.
Board,
That is an annual, 5,009 is an annual cost.
Board, you've heard the reading on number 14 for some landscaping requirements. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Item 15.
Okay, item 15 is a recommendation. This is to execute agreements for resurfacing of township roads between the board and the Board of Township Trustees of Batavia, Pierce, Union, and Williamsburg Townships, and also an agreement for resurfacing the village road with the Council of the Village of Moscow. These are all relative to the 2025 Phase 2 road resurfacing, where the county will undertake the bidding, obtain the bids, repairs for repairs, resurfacing, as directed by the villages, the townships. And an estimated cost for each one of these. They all have their different estimated cost. And then we will oversee the contract for them, process payments, and we end up with a nice cooperative contract with everybody. So we've got, in this one, we've got the 4 townships and the 1 village I mentioned. It's a total of $1,950,000 that'll be included in our bid that'll go out in January. They're looking at a total of 55 roads, about 11 and a half miles. I will have in hopefully early January 2 more agreements, one for the village of Williamsburg and one for the city of Milford. They were a little slow in getting us their information, but we were able to get out and get their streets looked at, and we will add those to the same.
What, how many miles did you say for this one?
Total of 11 and a half across all of these.
Okay. Thank you.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 15. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation? Suki, just, I know this is a cooperative agreement, but do you guys bid the contract after all this is known, or do you bid it based on quantity?
We bid it. So in our bid that will go out, we'll have our quantities for the roads that we're going to do under the county engineer's umbrella.
Yep.
And then we will include all of their quantities with it.
Okay.
So the whole bid will be, in addition, in essence, another $2 million over what we are planning to resurface.
And the reason I ask that is because, lots of contracts have a variation of quantity clause, because if you bid it by square feet of asphalt or that kind of stuff, and then it increases over time.
Ours is it's a unit price bid.
Okay.
So all the items will be detailed and the quantities are estimated. We come back to you. I think we just finished up the 2023 not too long ago with final quantities. So you'll see a final change order for actual quantities,
Okay.
because they are based on estimates. You don't know how much they're going to have to dig out to repair. And then that causes the additional
Through the pavement repairs.
Yep.
That's when it gets expensive.
unknown under the surface.
You bet. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, thanks, Suki. Item number 16, Loudloom.
Item 16 is a recommendation to execute a contract for professional services between the Board of County Commissioners and Strand Associates Incorporated out of Cincinnati, Ohio for engineering design services for project number 6402-60252 for the Hartman Lane Sewer Upgrade Project located in Batavia Township. For their proposal dated November 19, 2024, for a total amount not to exceed $162,000, with said services to be completed within 301 consecutive calendar days upon issuance of a written notice to proceed from the Water Resources Department, exclusive of county review time and contingent upon the release of the required purchase order. So Hartman Lane, it runs parallel with State Route 32, if you're not familiar with it, kind of right across the street from Permit Central on the north side of State Route 32. We've got 15-inch and 18-inch sewer that runs along there that was installed in 1972 and 1977. Upstream from that is a 24-inch trunk sewer that was installed in the early 2000s. So as development continues to occur out 32 in the Afton areas, we need to upgrade that 15-inch and 18-inch sewer to 24-inch sanitary sewer. So this project will entail the design of that to replace that undersized sewer so we can continue to grow east of that area.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 16. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or clarification? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran? Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Thanks, Lyle. Item number 17.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Counselor. How are you?
Thank you. I'm here with a recommendation to authorize David L. Painter, the President of the Board, to execute a joint applications with the prosecuting attorney to the Clermont County Court of Common Pleas for employment of legal counsel with the following firms as special counsel to represent the Board of County Commissioners in its official capacity and to advise it on legal matters as outlined therein pursuant to and in compliance with Revised Code 305.14 and with compensation therefore not to exceed the amounts listed below for calendar year 2025. So these are various outside law firms that have special focuses for the county that it's more efficient to use rather than staying in-house. So Frost, Brown, and Todd, LLC, we've been working with them for a number of years on the Seacoast property and in other and advising on other environmental matters as the board may designate. Lock Lord handles bonds. There's bond counsel for the county. So if we issue when we do issue bonds, they do all the underwriting work. It's a very specialized area of law. And then Ed Dorsey with Wood and Lamping LLC. They work with labor management negotiations, with their union negotiations, and that sort of matters. I will say, because every time I look at when we were preparing this, I kept getting confused. Where's Keating, Muth, and Clecamp? Because we just agreed to hire them. And I did reconfirm that agreement includes 24 and 25, so we don't need to add them on this one. So we do have Keating, Muthing, and Clecamp working on the Beck Jord litigation stuff. So,
Okay.
any questions for me?
Board, do you hear the reading of item number 17? Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Anything further? Roll call.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item number 18.
I have a recommendation to authorize the Board of County Commissioners to execute the settlement agreement for the provision of full settlement and release of all claims associated with the matter of Sandra Gable versus Kelly Preble et al., Clermont County Common Pleas case number 2023 CVC 01054. This will authorize Commissioner President David Painter to execute the settlement agreement and for the county commissioners to authorize payment of the settlement pursuant to terms set forth in the settle agreement and the Department of Medicaid final lien amount. This was a traffic accident involving one of our bus drivers. The total settlement amount is $10,000. There's a Medicaid lien right around $2,000, and then the rest would go to Ms. Gable.
Okay. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 18 for a settlement. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
And moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call again.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Thank you. Item number 19, Office of Budget and Management. Emily, good to see you this morning.
So I have a recommendation to execute the service agreement with Vertisoft LLC to provide services for training, deployment, and managed services for OpenGov budget and planning software for a contract term of 3 years beginning January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2027, for an amount not to exceed $439,661.83 pursuant to the terms and conditions of the agreement and contingent upon the issuance of the required purchase order.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 19. Do I have a motion for approval?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Item number 20.
I have a recommendation to resolve to approve and authorize changes in the annual appropriation resolution number 181-23 for calendar year 2024. So we have a long list of supplemental appropriations. I will go through each one. say the majority of these are adjusting to the year-end actual expenses. We have senior services, other expenses, a reduction of $9,591.88. Water construction, other expenses, a reduction to year-end of $1,100,000. Job and family service admin, other expenses, reduction of $346,296.74. South Afton, North Afton sewer, other expenses, reduction of $50. Go special assessment 2006, other expenses, a reduction of $330.17. Various 2011 water and sewer special assessment, other expenses, $2,001.17 reduction. Drainage improvements, other expense reduction of $30.30. These next several ones are to make year-end payroll. The sewer treatment needed additional regular salary of $5,000. Sewer treatment bargaining unit salary, $10,000, and sewer treatment fringe benefits of $5,000. Health insurance, fringe benefits, we have an increase to the budget of $1,506.18, and this is due to the high cost of claims at the end of the year. Let's see, concealed weapons licensing, regular salaries for year-end of $2,300. Concealed weapons licensing fringe benefits, $100. Clermont County Drug Unit year-end salaries, regular salaries for $6,800, and the drug unit fringes, $3,000. CDBG entitlement, this is a reduction to their other expenses to year-end actual of $140,000. CTC capital, reduction to their other expenses for year-end of $331,000. And fleet maintenance, reduction to their year-end other expenses of $15,000.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 20. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
It's been moved in second. Any further conversation or discussion? I like the reductions better than the
I do too.
additions. I just wanted to let you know. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran, Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thanks, Emily. Board, that concludes our non-consent agenda for today. We will move to item G. I understand we have some additions to the agenda.
I'm going to talk about those today.
Okay.
We have two additions. One you will see is the Board of County Commissioners and the appointment of Timothy Rudd.
Okay.
The second one is Board of County Commissioners award of additional annual personal leave. Those two are items for consideration today.
Okay.
If you would like to see those, you can have your motion to add them to the agenda.
Okay. I know we had, okay.
Oh, yeah, we'll wait on that one.
Okay. So we have two items here that I'm asking to be added to the agenda. One is for additional annual personal leave that we'll have to discuss. And then the other is to appoint Timothy Rudd to serve as the interim or acting recorder for the period of January 1, 2025 to January 5th. Do I have a motion to add these two to the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Then moved in second. Roll call.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Gail, if you want to walk us through each one of these.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Rudd, if that's okay. This is the Board of County Commissioners appointment of recommendation to adopt Resolution 155-24, resolving to appoint Timothy Rudd to serve as acting county recorder for the period of January 1st, 2025 to January 5th, 2025. As you all are aware, our current serving county recorder, Deborah Klepper, will resign as of 12/31, and the incoming county recorder, Tim Rudd, his term doesn't start until January 6th, so we need to fill the gap to say from January 1st to January 5th. This will allow us to do that without going through all kinds of hurdles to jump and everything. So,
And I think it's open to say the Ohio Revised Code, gives options for appointing people into elected official positions. One of the options is an acting county official, which falls to the Board of Commissioners and is well within the ORC. So, Tim Rudd is the candidate-elect and will be taking office on January 6th. So this would be an appropriate appointment. Okay. Do I have a motion for approval?
I will make that motion.
Have a second.
Been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Second?
Second item is a recommendation to approve 4 additional hours of annual personal leave pursuant to Section 4.09 F1 of the Clermont County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual. This is required to be used by the employee on December 24th, 2024, during the last 4 hours of the employee's normal office hours, if their county office is closing early on that date. If the employee's county office is required to remain open on December 24th, 2024, the additional 4 hours of annual personal leave shall be taken anytime prior to January 24th, 2025. This is all in pursuant to Section 4.09 F6 of the Clermont County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual.
Board, you've read the proposed motion here, proposed resolution that's on the floor for an additional 4 hours of personal leave. Obviously, this is associated with Christmas.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
So do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call again.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, commissioners.
You bet. And so that is the end of our current additions to the agenda at this time, correct?
Yes, we do
Okay.
have another item.
Right.
That we could talk about right now, and that is the tabled item from 12/11/2024. That was item number 17, Clermont County Dog Kennel Volunteer Policy, which was tabled on 12/11.
And so I would ask for a motion to remove that from the table and bring it back to the dais. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Been moved in second. Roll call.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes, as scheduled, it is back on the table. This is the volunteer policy for the Clermont County Dog Kennel and to authorize the implementation. We'll put a little discussion out here. We have put that out there. It went out in draft form. It was provided by a records request. In that process, there have been some people in the community that volunteer at the shelter who have sent extensive comments back to Angie. And Angie has looked at some of those comments and has relayed that some of those comments seem to should have consideration. So, yeah, one of the things I would ask, I would make a motion that we table this again and to a date forthcoming so that we could actually review these comments that we've received and have an opportunity to decide if these some of them need to be incorporated and obviously reviewed by, our legal counsel.
At least take under consideration.
Absolutely. So if you are amenable to tabling that, I would ask for a motion to table it.
Are we going to give a
and we need a
deadline
date.
on the table though?
Yeah, we need a date.
Just something last
I
meeting.
can help you with that.
Okay.
Next year, our first regular session is January 8th.
Okay.
Is that giving everybody enough time? After that, it would be January 15th. So you might want to give it,
I'm amenable to the 8th or the 15th.
Yeah.
Do you have
Either or.
I would say the 15th. That way we have the holidays, so maybe that would accommodate. Okay?
So I'd ask that we table to a time forthcoming to January the 8th. Do I have a motion?
It was the 15th, I
Oh,
said.
January 15th. I'm sorry.
Yes.
15th.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you that motion
Okay.
for the 15th.
I'll
15th.
second it.
It's been moved and second. Roll
Okay.
call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran?
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor?
Yes.
Commissioner Painter?
Yes. So we are placing this back on the table so that it provides some time for us to review by January 15th. But on January 15th,
We'll adopt
we
it.
will be ready to go. Okay. All right. All right. Then item number H is next up. I'm requesting a executive session pursuant to 121.22 G1 and 121.22 G3 of the Ohio Revised Code. First, consider the employment, dismissal, or promotion of a public employee or more public employees. And second, to confer with our attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, we will move into executive session. We will return and we will conduct further business. Thank you. We have returned from executive session. There were no actions taken and no decisions made. We will move on with our regular scheduled agenda with item I, county staff and elected official discussion. I understand Sandy Tahat from our Human Resources Department, she's our director, is here to review a new personnel policy, Chapter 6.
Good morning.
Morning.
With great pleasure, I will tell you Chapter 6 is lengthy, but it is the last chapter of the entire policy. So after today, you won't have to listen to policy changes anymore. So Chapter 6, I will start. How many sections are there? There are 16 subsections. There were no changes to Section 6.01 and 2, which deals with employees' code of ethics and employee responsibilities. When we get to prohibited activities, we updated terminology. Current policy references smoking. We've changed that to tobacco, use of tobacco or the electronic cigarettes because vaping has become a question. So that is now included as something that's no longer or continue not allowed in county vehicles or property. There was reference to some vehicles being designated as smoking. I don't believe that's ever been the case, so that was removed because Section 6.05 prohibits use of tobacco in any form in any vehicle. So we kind of made those sections consistent with each other. 6.04 outside employment was no change. Under 6.05 county property and equipment, believe it or not, there's a reference to pagers, and I don't know when pagers ceased to exist, but we took that out. And we, again, added the reference to electronic cigarettes as prohibited in direct responder vehicles. Those are vehicles that staff can take home in the event that they're recalled for emergency response. 6.06 is political activity. We put in more understandable terms that classified employees are prohibited from serving in an elected or an appointed capacity or holding an elective or appointed office in any partisan political organization. Right. We made clear that none of the prohibitions apply to nonpartisan elections. Under 6.07, that chapter was formerly titled sexual harassment. And even though that is an area of more common issues where it comes up, that was retitled to include other discriminatory harassment as well. So we expanded that to include other areas and indicated that the standard legal liability under federal state law does not have to be met in order for there to be found a violation of county policy.
Sandy, just for a second, if you just go back, you talked about the classified employees and what they could or they couldn't do when it came to partisan elected positions. There is one other thing you might want to take a look at there. Obviously, the state requirements in there, or there is a document called non-compatible positions within the state that comes from the AG's office. Sometimes, even though you may not be prohibited, by our policy, there are other non-compatibilities that exist within state positions, depending on what you do. For instance, if you are involved in participating in making the budget, and I'm just using that for example, you may be prohibited from serving on a particular position, even though it's neither one of those. So I would just say that maybe our policy might want to take a look at that, or maybe reference it, as to, other positions and non-compatibilities.
I know what you're referencing, and we have had to look at that for outside employment. Okay. So it's almost viewed like a secondary employment in the conflict of interest more than political, non-political type.
Yeah.
If
I just
that
wanted
makes
to-
sense.
The number of hours.
But no, that's
that
good.
interferes
I just wanted to make
with-
sure that was,
Yeah, it's in.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that though and see if that maybe should be referenced just in either one of those sections. It may be outside employment as well. Back to the harassment section 6.07. Current policy limits the investigation of any complaint to the EO officer, which at this point is myself, for the board. Earlier in chapter 1, we did give the option of other elected officials to appoint their own EEO officer, if you recall. Obviously, because of limitations of me being able to go into another elected official's office and investigate. But we made an amendment to allow for a designee because sometimes there may be a need to refer an investigation out to a third party or someone different, or if I'm out, the ability to designate that to someone. And our current policy didn't accommodate for that in a way. So we added that. I removed administrative processes because those are not needed in an employee manual. Under 6.08, we also address workplace harassment and violence. We included terminology adding bullying or other threats, updating the policy with today's times that acts would be also inclusive of text or social media of any kind, and noting that a manager's correction of work performance or direction of performance improvement is not harassment or bullying, because sometimes that gets blended a little bit. So made that notation. Under 6.09, non-fraternization policy, there were no changes. And there were no changes in 6.10, representing the county in public. Under 6.11, dress code, current policy it talks about an acceptable professional, that dresses to be a professional, acceptable manner. It allows department heads to establish a casual dress day code. So we added that casual dress does not mean unkempt, sloppy, and it should meet widely acceptable standards for business casual. On 6.12 is disciplinary authority. The policy sets forth the disciplinary authority, which mirrors Ohio revised codes, under which terms employees can be suspended, discharged, or disciplined. Policy was clarified to denote unclassified employees are at will. So that threshold that you can only discipline, suspend under these reasons apply to classified. Mm-hmm. It does not mean that the board can't discipline an unclassified. We just made that distinction in policy. We also added a note that progressive discipline are not rigid steps, and that certain offenses can warrant an escalated. So it lets everybody know we don't have to follow these exact steps each time, depending on the specifics of the offense. Under 6.13, principles of discipline for classified, we better explained those principles for classified employees. Again, it doesn't restrict the board's ability to discharge or discipline unclassified who are at will and serve at the pleasure of the board. And we updated policy to reflect current practice with regards to department heads serving as, with department heads, they have the authority to go ahead and issue written warnings, written reprimands. But once it gets to the suspension level, it goes to a pre-disciplinary conference. A hearing officer hears that, and then we come to the board for what may occur. Current policy actually said that department heads had the authority to issue written warnings, reprimands, and 3-day suspensions. 3-day suspensions have to come to the board. Under 6.14, pre-suspension, reduction, or removal procedures, we added language about what has to be in a pre-disciplinary conference notice to the employee. That's in the notice, but we never had that in policy. And that the employee can waive that hearing, or if they fail, it will be considered a waiver of the hearing. In addition to the department head serving as hearing officers, we gave the right to appoint another individual to serve that if needed, and clarified that the pre-disciplinary conference is not intended to be a full evidentiary hearing. That would occur should an employee file an appeal with the state. We clarified the representative an employee may bring to that hearing means an attorney or a union representative. It does not mean a coworker, because they do not serve as representatives. Right. 6.15 are appeals, and we just changed that language because it currently says appeals for 3 days suspension, considering people work different scheduled hours, and the interpretation is the 3 hours, 3 8 hours, or 10. We changed it to read 24 hours because that is what's in code for appeal level is 24 hours. 6.16 is the complaint procedure. And we clarified the definition of workday, updated the civil rights categories to correspond with section 1.03 earlier in the policy on the discriminatory categories. And we removed the right of an employee initiating the complaint to be able to bring a coworker to that meeting because, again, they do not serve as representatives. They're not needed at that initial stage. And that's pretty much chapter 6. Are there any questions?
No.
Questions, board?
No.
Thanks, Sandy. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job.
Super.
Any other staff or elected official discussion?
President,
Yes.
we need to go back to the executive session.
Okay.
There is an item I need to bring forward to you.
Okay. All right.
Under what,
And under what section? 12122G1?
personnel or employee?
Under the confer,
With an attorney?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So board, I would like to add an executive session to this agenda.
Is employment?
Oh.
Okay,
It is employment.
It's G1.
okay.
Okay, like to add an executive session to this employment under section 12122. First vote is to add it to the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, then I would request an executive session pursuant to section 12122 G1 of the Ohio Revised Code to consider the employment, dismissal, or promotion of a public employee or more public employees. Do I have a motion to go in executive session?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Then moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes, we will move to executive session. We will return and conduct further business. Thank you. Returned from executive session. There were no decisions made and no actions taken. We will move on with our regular agenda. Right before executive session, we had finished with item number I, unless there's anyone that would like to address the board, elected officials.
I have one comment.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that our reorganization meeting to begin for 2025 will be held on Monday, January 6th.
Thank you.
And that way we have a date for next year for the for the reorg meeting.
Fantastic. January 6, 2025.
Yes,
Wow. Wow, that goes fast. Unbelievable. Thank you, Gail. Thank
no
you.
problem.
Anyone else like to address the board? Hearing none, we'll move to member comments. Board members, any comments about today's meetings, things you want to clarify, discussion?
Well, clarify the swearing in of the two of you.
Oh, well, thanks. Thank you.
We already had that nice
Yep.
ceremony with all the staff present.
Yep. I know myself, I was very grateful to have the staff present there, and I thought it was
Yeah, I thought it was
really nice.
I thought it was
ceremony.
nice. The people that we work with day in and day out could be a part of it. And thank Judge Miles once again for coming
in the
over.
rain.
Absolutely. Came in the rain. One other thing we want to say is obviously today we have taken care of the needs of Tim Rudd. He'll be taking over. He is our candidate-elect for recorder. I want to thank Debbie Klepper. What a fine standard that she set here in Clermont County as the recorder. Debbie looked for every opportunity to try to streamline that department, and it has been very much streamlined, operates at a very, very reasonable budget, and provides fine work. She understands everything that goes on in that office, and I know she will be missed. But, I wish her well, and thank you, Debbie, for all of your years of service here to Clermont County and to the citizens. I know they appreciate it, and we appreciate you.
And she's got her employees trained well, so.
You bet.
Be a
Don't
smooth-
forget, we also have Barb Wiedenbein and several others who will be retiring, and new shoes are coming in. So filling
Yes.
those shoes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just wanted to make sure that, we gave them the kudos of, the hard work that they performed. Tim Rudd will be coming back here. Obviously, he served as the municipal clerk for many years prior to becoming the recorder. We welcome him to the building downstairs, and I know we'll see him, the first here in the building and starting to take over for that office. So congratulations, Mr. Rudd.
And if I could just say, a week from today is Christmas. Want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Is everybody got all their Christmas shopping done? And you're all ready?
Absolutely, already bought under the tree,
comment.
wrapped.
Yeah, I'm not going there. That's for sure.
That's up to Santa Claus. That's all. That's up to Santa Claus.
There it is.
I got a taste of a 3-year-old at her birthday party last weekend. So I know what Christmas is going to be like, and it's going to be fun. Boy, can she rip paper.
You bet. Well, thank you so much for being here. We obviously had a really productive meeting. So with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting today.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Gail.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Yes. Thank you for being at our meeting today on this 18th day of December. And just want to say on behalf of the Clermont County Board of Commissioners, have a Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. Thank you.